Here we go. So, hey, welcome everybody. Thank you everyone in the class. We have Dr. Sood with us tonight. We have 85 eager students from Foundations of Positive Psychology at the University of Northern Iowa. And this is a bit of an experiment. What we're doing tonight, it's kind of a pilot really for a series here. We're planning to do 4 of these as the semester goes on a variety of topics relating to positive psychology. For those who don't know, my name is Gary Goody, and I'm teaching this course. I'm happy to be teaching this, thrilled to be teaching this course, Foundations of Positive Psychology at the University of Northern Iowa. And I apologize to anyone who attempted to join us via YouTube. We had everything all set up to stream live on YouTube and learned at almost the last minute that YouTube requires an additional 24 hours to clear everything, to make sure everything's okay before they permit one to do that. So we are streaming on Facebook, and hopefully those who were going to join us on YouTube, this will be recorded and you'll be able to catch the recording there, or maybe you can catch us either on Facebook or on Zoom. So tonight, as I said, is the first of 4 coming up. For those who are not in the class, who don't know have any idea of what's coming up, September 28th, we're going to be talking about flow, and we have a panel of guests, a couple of whom are with us tonight. I'm going to talk about flow in farming, flow in painting, and flow in rock climbing. On October 12th, Stephanie, where is Stephanie? She's out there someplace, is going to lead a session in mindfulness meditation. And Stephanie, can you unmute yourself and tell us the type of an activity you're going to take us through on the 28th?
Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about, can you hear me?
Yeah, we're fine.
Okay. I have been a yoga teacher, recently became a mental health counselor, love flow, so connected with Gary. I'm going to talk a little bit about mental health. I'm going to talk a little bit about mindfulness and movement, and then we're going to move through something called Yoga Nidra, which is going to take you from alpha to beta to hopefully theta brainwaves. And the amount of time we spend in Yoga Nidra is equal to 4 times that of sleep for your brain. So I'm excited to be able to present that to you. That's something that you can find on YouTube if you need to. It's something that I use as a tool, because we all need more coping strategies as we kind of head into the semester. So hopefully you'll experience some mindfulness meditation and also some Yoga Nidra.
Great. Although I should add as a footnote that this is not a regular substitute for sleep. Okay.
Oh, totally. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Still get sleep. Still get
Yes,
sleep. This is I have a teenage son, and his favorite thing is called a coffee nap. So he drinks a cup of coffee, you take a nap for 20 minutes, you wake up, the caffeine is kicked in, and that's what he calls a coffee nap. If you do Yoga Nidra during those 20 minutes, then you've just bonus. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. And then on November 2nd, Positive Education and Tina and Anderson Bakehouse are going to be joining us then. So tonight, to kick us off, Dr. Amit Sood, everyone in the class has watched 2 of your videos, at least, the Happy Brain TEDx talk and the resilience webinar back from early April of this year. So they're well versed in much of what you've had to say, at least on those two formats. But they have a lot of questions, and I'm sure people joining us from Facebook do as well. So we're honored to have you with us. Dr. Sood tonight is going to talk about happiness and resilience and gratitude and forgiveness and compassion and acceptance and whatever else might come up. I was telling him earlier that in the class we've been dealing primarily with positive emotions the last couple of weeks, primarily happiness, but all of these other constructs are certainly related to how we experience happiness. So I'm going to turn it over to him, allow him to introduce himself, and then we'll have you guys step forward with some of your questions for him. Okay, Dr. Sood?
Thank you, Gary. Just consider me as one of your student colleagues, just a little bit older, if just an underperformer who happens to be past age 50, still trying to, I feel like I'm a second grader when it comes to the emotional and spiritual curriculum of life. So what I will share with you is, as a fellow student, What I'm amazed with is, as I've shared before, is the tremendous vulnerability of the human brain, how our brain is really a work in progress. Uh, an example is if you step on a nail, you withdraw your foot. But if you turn on the TV, there is a bad news, you watch more, you don't shut it off right away. So our sensory system is designed to withdraw from pain. Our brain is designed to go deeper into pain. And that pain could be happening 10,000 miles away in our backyard, or it could be a sense of rejection from someone that tends to dominate, which you all know is negativity bias. All these mechanisms were very adaptive at some point, but not anymore. Combine that with excessive cognitive and emotional overload. I was asking a colleague of mine, when was the last time where you completely relaxed, that you could turn off your pager and your cell phone? And this is a physician, and he said, he thought for a while, and he said that was when I was getting my colonoscopy. So I thought, if getting a medical procedure under sedation is what it takes for you to unwind, then I think we need to take better charge of our brain. Thank you for having me, Gary, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Wonderful introduction. Okay, who from the class would like to go first? I know there are a number of you who have questions. Just unmute yourself and go ahead and ask.
I can go first.
Sure. Thanks, John.
So in one of your videos, you said, find novelty where love is. And I was just wondering that basically in any relationship, how do you find that novelty in that first few minutes when there may be tension occurring in that relationship?
So I'm meeting you for the first time, John, but I know that there is a lot of people in the universe who love you, who will spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to spend time with you. Perhaps you're a sibling. You are, of course, a son, from a love affair that succeeded. You are an uncle. You are a future father, perhaps a future grandfather. You are a colleague. So when I see you in that totality, and I can also see you as a cute 6-month-old and a very old 90-year-old. So I don't see you as John, a person in front of me as I see you, but I see you in totality, beyond what is immediately visible to the eye. And I can, of course, choose to look at you from my heart, where I see that you will have struggles. You perhaps have struggles right now, and you'll have disappointments and losses and regrets and hurts and so on. So when you see the other person in totality like this, you cannot help but be amazed that this person, where from in the universe have you traveled to really manifest in front of me? And that really fills me with a sense of awe and wonder, and at the same time, compassion for your future self. Now, it is not easy to sustain that every single day, day after day after day. So we have simple practices such as a habit of meeting you, trying to look at the color of your eyes, because our eyes are special and they are new and different. And if I sort of make this a habit that when I see you, I will notice the color of your eyes for like 2 seconds. I'm not going to stare at you for like 50 seconds. You'll freak out, but just for 2 seconds, then that moment when I meet you, that transition moment, instead of judging you, I'm in radical acceptance and I'm trying to see novelty. And so that perspective, and that completely changes the connection. And I could try and keep that perspective that before meeting you, let's say you're my brother and I'm coming home and I want our time to go well. And let's say we've been arguing about a soccer ball or whatever. So in the garage, I might say, okay, why am I grateful to John? I'm grateful to John because, John shared his apple pie with me yesterday, whatever. I'll come with something tangible. So that changes the energy which I bring, because I'm really grateful to you at this moment. That is one of the simplest ways to transform any meeting, any connection, is to remind yourself why you're grateful to the person you're going to meet. Or I might say, John is here from college. You know, once he goes back, I'm going to see him twice a year. So if I live 30 more years, I'm going to see him 60 more times. So this is a moment to really savor, because this is one of those 60 times that I'll see him. So all this perspective, and you know, one day something will work, the other day something else will work, helps me find novelty within you.
Thank you.
Helps me transcend the ordinary. The key, if I had to put in one line, is to try and find extraordinary within the ordinary.
Okay.
All of which, I'm sure others have been thinking this as well while you were speaking, gets us past the transactional nature that relationships can have. So you're finding something unique, something novel and meaningful about that person to fire you up and get you through, or while you experience the connection.
Absolutely. Shifting from transactional to affiliative.
Yeah.
I think humans, any connection can be one of three: adversarial, transactional, or affiliative. Hopefully you don't have too many adversarial interactions where you start fighting with the other person right away. But most of the connections we have tend to be transactional unless we choose to make them affiliative, which is up to us. And when you have an affiliative connection, you know it's affiliative, whether it is at the grocery store or with the airline agent or with the janitor or with your teacher, that really uplifts you. You say, I'm having party here, you know, and you like to stay at a party where you're having fun. So when your body senses that you're having party on planet Earth, your body says, you know, my owner is having a party here. I'm going to stay on this planet for a little while. So your immune system changes, your genetic expression changes, your molecules change, your blood pressure changes, your heart rate variability changes. Every part of your body starts planning to stay on this planet for a little longer.
Great. And those, I want to add, those who are with us on Facebook, if you have questions, just put those in the comment section there, the comment function under the video, and we'll get to your questions also. Okay, who else from the class has something to ask? I'm sure there are a number of you.
So on the subject of relationships, one of my questions that I had was that due to COVID-19, do you think it's resulting isolation and social distancing will like negatively impact them?
Yes and no. As we know that difficult times can bring out the worst in us or the best in us. So difficult times tend to just be a catalyst. So what I like to use is physical distancing rather than social or emotional distancing. So I know of many people who are actually connecting with their long lost friends. I've had many invitations way back from 25 years ago when we were bothered about the pimples on our face, but you know, we have transcended all that. So we're connecting with people from long past and making those connections and valuing those. Yet at the same time, if you're, let's say, spending time with someone who has an aggressive personality or a narcissistic disposition, and you have to spend time in the same home with that person, then it's difficult for you. And there is a definite value of in-person connection, which we are losing. So we are a flexible species, we are adaptive species. So we have to find ways to leverage the technology in the best possible way. So one suggestion I have to minimize transactional connection over videos is, when you're connecting with someone, try to really understand their story. Try to know their background a little bit. So the person, I mean, I could not know background of 75 people right away. But if I was to meet you alone, Brandy, I might want to know a little bit about you, what you care about, etc., so that you are not just an image on a screen. So I feel like I'm connecting with you and getting to know you. So we're losing connection as well as we are enhancing connection. It really depends on us. of what we do in this situation. As you know, with trauma, you can have post-traumatic stress disorder, you can have post-traumatic growth. And as you know, adversities are the catalyst. I mean, the whole idea of resilience is having had adversity at some point. Without adversity, resilience is difficult to happen. So this is an opportunity. And one last thing I would mention there is the very strong connection between your perceived social connection and your immune system. As you know, perception of loneliness has little to do with the number of people around you. It has to do with how connected you feel. So that's why they say a single rose can be my garden. You can be alone yet feel connected, or you can be around 100 people yet feel lonely. The interesting part is your immune system senses it. And so when you're lonely, your immune system creates more inflammation and decreases, suppresses your antiviral immunity. And when you feel connected, your immune system enhances your antiviral immunity and your vaccination response. So whenever, I'm sorry, I'm mentioning COVID-19, whenever COVID-19 vaccine comes, if you want it to be more effective for you, you want to make sure you do not feel lonely at that time. And the other simple pearl is sleep well the night before vaccination, because if you sleep well, we know that if you have not slept well and got, let's say, a diphtheria immunization, the vaccine response will be lesser. So the answer is both. A lot is in your control. Be proactive, and this has tremendous biological impact.
Great. Often the as is often the case, the questions are simple, the answers are not. So yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry if I'm making
No,
it
no,
more
no. That's not what I'm
complex than
getting
it
at.
has to.
That's just, it's not you. That's just life. You know, if we're going to be honest, when we answer questions, their responses are often complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, I insisted I don't want to know any questions ahead of time, because
No, that's right.
otherwise,
He was given no questions. Yeah.
yeah,
It's rarely one or the other. It's often
it's
both.
scripted, and
Yeah.
it's artificial, and then you don't speak from your heart.
Yep, absolutely. Okay.
I have a quick,
Who has a question from his or her heart?
I have a quick question going off of the last one. So
Yes.
based on when we get vaccines, how long, from like your medical standpoint or perspective, how long do you think COVID will go on for?
Oh, oh boy. So eventually, it is in the interest of the SARS virus to mutate and become milder. If I was consulting with the COVID virus, I would tell COVID virus, remain infectious, but don't kill people. Don't put people in the ICU. Just be a mild cold. That's what happens typically to viruses in natural history. They start very virulent, very pathogenic. They go from person to person. They cause serious illness. But as what happens is, if a host has severe illness, we isolate that person dies, and with them, trillions of viruses in that host die. It is in the interest of the virus to slowly mutate and become milder and milder. So it becomes a part of us, yet doesn't bother us, which it is true for trillions and trillions of bacteria and viruses that are part of our body. So my answer, my depressing answer to SARS, to the COVID-19 virus is that it will never go away. But the hopeful answer is that even if it doesn't go away, it will be part of the milieu without bothering us. It will find a way to peacefully coexist with us. Vaccine will have a tremendous impact in terms of enhancing our herd immunity and our ability to keep people out of the ICU. As such, we have become much better at protecting people. People who get sick, their survival is much better than it was 5 or 6 months ago. Pharma is working on antivirals. So just as you saw, I don't know if you saw HIV pandemic, HIV as it circulated across the globe from a very high fatality rate to becoming a chronic disease. Diabetes, insulin-dependent diabetes, from universally fatal to now it's a chronic illness, almost similar longevity. That's what is going to happen to COVID-19. Vaccines will help, medications will help, all the protective measures we are taking will help, and of course the virus itself will become milder.
Can I ask I'm going to ask a quick follow-up. So the virus becoming milder, that's over a period of, are we talking months, years? What
Yeah.
kind of a time frame?
Yeah, typically I would say 6 months.
Okay.
6 months, maximum a year. The mutation has to spread far and wide, but I think we will intervene. So that is the natural history, but we might intervene prior, and with vaccination, we'll make people immune. So my guess is by um, when this winter, when the snow finally melts past this winter, I think the world will be looking at this mostly in the rearview mirror. I fingers crossed.
Okay.
I really hope so. I pray for it for sure.
All right. Okay, we have other questions out there.
Yeah, just real quick. So what would your best advice to be to someone who just won a lottery jackpot and doesn't want the ill effects of hedonistic adaptation to completely ruin it?
Who just won the lottery jackpot
and doesn't want the ill effects of hedonistic adaptation to completely ruin the experience.
Ah, I see. Hedonistic adaptation to the jackpot.
She's been paying attention in class.
Yeah. I get it. So, research which shows that you actually, your risk of illness and mortality goes up if you win large sums of money. As you know, there's multiple sources of happiness, but there is two main sources of happiness. One is driven by dopamine, which is the hedonistic happiness. The other is driven by endorphins and oxytocin, which is the eudaimonic happiness. And you perhaps know all the research where when you look at the genetic expression of people who are hedonistically versus eudaimonically happy, it's actually the eudaimonically happy people who have a more anti-inflammatory response. Hedonistically happy people, as you rightly said, have a more inflammatory response and become ill. And there's of course adaptation. You adapt to the good very, very quickly. So my suggestion to that person will be what I sometimes share with respect to dark chocolate. So I have 4 pieces of dark chocolate. And if you like dark chocolate, if I gave all 4 to Monica, then I'll be grumpy, you'll be happy or guilty perhaps. If I ate all 4, then you'll be upset and angry at me. I'll be happy or guilty. Depending on where my situation is. The joy is in eating 2 and sharing 2. So if let's say somebody won $100 million, I will say, that's more than what you will need for your life. So, and I shouldn't say you didn't deserve it. Who knows, you had some karma that made you deserve it, but I will put half of it for your demonic pleasure, for a purpose that really resonates with you, like funding psychology education in colleges or or whatever really resonates with you, so that you not only, kindness has so many benefits. Kindness helps the person towards whom you're kind. Kindness helps the person who is being kind. Kindness helps someone who is witnessing kindness. And then when you hear about kind actions of somebody, you become happier. These are all individual research studies, as well as when you recall your previous kind actions in life, you become happier. So one of the best ways to seed happiness for life is to be kind today. So I will ask him to share 2 pieces of chocolate with others and keep 2 for himself, and have a lovely life so that you enjoy both eudaimonic and hedonistic pleasure.
Great. I think Monica likes that answer.
Sure. I would personally do that if I was the one. My promise, pinky promise. I heard yesterday from my teenager that is the highest level of promise ever.
Okay, we have, how about Cheyenne? You're out there, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Right.
So I'm hoping to become a school psychologist. So while I was listening to your videos, I was thinking like from more of like the children's perspective. So in your opinion, how would you introduce some of those gratitude or stress management techniques to children, and at what age would you start introducing them?
So we are actually running a program called Happy Genius Program, HAPPI Genius, GENIUS. This is our first pilot we are running, and we have in our class 6-year-olds, 8-year-old, 13, 15, and a 60-year-old all participating in the same pilot. And they are really resonating with it across the board. With the basic ideas of, we have 3 principles there, and we call it the BFF program, breathing, focusing, feeling. And we have 3 principles there. One is calmness, which is through the breathing. We have a star breathing. Second is gratitude, and third is kindness. So those are the 3 main anchors. And the main, so 6-year-olds completely resonated with it, Shan. And the main thing is to distill it down to their level. So when you share examples, when you share metaphors, things like, so we're doing stories like, okay, tell us something simple that is nice that happened today for which you are thankful. We don't always use the word grateful because grateful may be a heavier word for them. And so, and their mom or dad are there helping them. Then we get into, okay, tell us something that was mildly annoying for which you are grateful now. So we kind of stretch their gratitude practice, and they do this with their parent. So they came up with simple things like, one person came up with, I'm grateful for my toes because that helps me, they help me wear my flip-flops, which I love my flip-flops. So when it came to mildly annoying, one of the parents said, I told my husband that I'm really grateful for him because he happens to be mildly annoying, and he sort of returned back in kind. So so it really starts working. I can tell from personal experience from age 5 or 6 easily. I'm not a child psychologist. I have colleagues who have helped with designing their curriculum. And it's just that you have to build the examples, you know, the way you describe it at their level. And talk about ice creams and candies and their pets. You know, they're thankful. Every child who has a pet is thankful for their pet. And what about the pet they love? And from there you stretch their gratitude muscle. Yeah, just email me if you are interested, because we are trying to have other people teach this 12-week curriculum. If you just go to happygenius.com, you'll find it. And my email is as@resilientoption.com.
And I can put that on the e-learning site.
Sure.
Okay, great. Others from the class?
I have a quick question. So I know that in one of your talks, you had talked about sort of like reframing like your life choices, sort of like with, it was like gratitude, like meaning, like meaningfulness and like acceptance. Is it best to sort of reframe your life, or I guess is it best to follow like those steps sort of like one at a time, or just kind of all at once?
You mean the 5 principles?
Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, you know, just as you have 5 fingers, we have those 5 principles. They are all emerging from, you can call, wisdom and love. Each of them have been tested in multiple research studies. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter which principle you use, because they sort of merge. You go deep enough, they merge. Gratitude, you go deep enough, becomes acceptance. Acceptance, you go deep enough, becomes surrender. Compassion, you go deep enough, becomes forgiveness. So they all support each other. So it is best to say, you know, ask yourself, which one is the easiest and I personally resonate with the most? You know, no point eating peanuts if you're allergic to peanuts. So if you are allergic to forgiveness, don't get to forgiveness right away if you're finding it struggling with it. Acceptance and forgiveness are the most difficult ones. So I wouldn't start there. I would start with gratitude and compassion to begin with. I would focus on meaning. Now, as you were talking about, because your question can have multiple directions, and I wish we had a long, long time to chat, but meaning has two parts. One is the means and the other is the meaning. Means are what you use. So you will become a psychologist. That's the means. The meaning behind is service and love, that you'll be servicing the society and you'll be sharing your goodness. Love is my feeling. Love is wishing others well. Wanting good of the other person is love. And that's a generic way of looking at love from my perspective. So it really broadens your love. So focus more on service and love rather than the specifics. So for example, I had a medical student who developed acute leukemia in medical school. He could not complete his medical school, so he had to get into research. Thankfully, he survived the rigors of chemotherapy and bone marrow transplantation. Now, he always wanted to become a medical student and become a physician. See, that is, so and he wanted to serve and love in the way we are defining it through being a doctor. But now that he can't be, he has to find another way to serve and love. So if he anchors his life's happiness, his life's meaning in becoming a physician, then he has missed it. But if he anchors his life's mission in servicing and loving, then you can be anything. So pick the principle that resonates the best with you, that you find easiest to begin with. Go as deep as possible. And when you look at your life, do not look at life as, certainly do not count it with fame, number of social media followers or likes, or popularity or money. I think you count with the number of people you're serving and how you're serving and the values you're living by. I feel the more you are passionate about serving a lot of people, helping a lot of people, and living with values, the more resources and responsibilities the world will send your way. So that's how I will look at it. It takes, you have to lose a few hair on your head to recognize that is the main sort of currency of growth, of progress. But the sooner you recognize it, the farther you will go. I'll say one thing, when you want to grow materially, and it's important, material growth is important. If you want to grow materially, there is a ceiling. If you want to grow spiritually, there is no ceiling. You can keep growing and keep getting better and better and better. So I would pick a path of growth where there is no ceiling. It's not this versus that. You combine the both, you integrate the both. But if there is ever a choice, I would say pick values over material growth. You will have fewer regrets.
Really nice. And I think everyone in the class is familiar with, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about from Seligman's book back, his early book on authentic happiness is the name of it. 3 levels of flourishing, the pleasant life, the engaged life, and the meaningful life. The pleasant life is more the hedonic, kind of stuff. And engagement is good, it's important, but the life of meaning is really at the top echelon. So good, thank you.
Sometimes I look at pleasure very much like dessert. You don't have your full meal as your dessert. It's part of your meal. It's a small part of your meal. And sometimes I say you have to go there like you go into the pantry. You go there, you take what you want, and you just then move on. So that's how you go into past or future, to just for specific reasons, and then engage intentionally with what's happening in front of you, which I'm sure Stephanie will talk about, which is mindfulness to a great extent, intentional engagement with what is.
Right. Great. How about Anita? I know you had a question.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
So I know like in one of your videos, you talked about like the wandering mindset too. And like I have a really bad one. So do you have like any techniques or anything that you can do to stop influencing it?
Yeah, so one thing is, it is the mind's nature to wander. Mind is designed to focus on open files and our ancestors had a lot of threats in the external world. So if you walk at 2 a.m. in a very dark corridor, your mind will not wander because you will be just focusing externally. Or if you walk in a forest and you hear the sound of lion growling from the bushes, no mind wandering will happen. You will be completely in the moment, though terrorized in the moment. But the moment external threats go away, our mind instantly goes inside our head and starts wandering, trying to close those open files or negotiate those open files. So accept that it's a part of who we are. It's never going to completely go away. But what you can do is cut down the dose of your mind wandering. So you can find moments during the day when you say two things to yourself: there is no need for me to plan, and there is no need for me to problem solve. So no planning, no problem solving. That will quiet your mind. And if you can, you can say, I am enough, I have enough. And so you have that sense of contentment. And then you try to bring yourself, you can focus on your breath, focus on the external world, on your body, or you can do the gratitude meditation practice, which is online. If you go to YouTube and if you you probably experience the gratitude meditation. Anything that brings your attention in an intentional way, focusing on what you choose to focus on. And so you sprinkle these moments 2 to 3 minutes multiple times during the day. You can certainly extend the duration to 10 minutes a day through Calm and Energize, Yoga Nidra, and other practices. And so gradually what will happen is your muscle of intentionality will become stronger. It's a process. It doesn't happen right away. The other second component is to close some of those open files. You can close some of those open files through using any of those 5 principles, from gratitude to forgiveness. I think if you can focus on acceptance is the most powerful way to close your open files, accepting what is, what was, or what might be. It's a very large topic. It's actually the essence of our program of trying to slow the wandering mind. And as John was asking earlier, when meeting people, I mean, if you take a stroll in the mall or in your neighborhood and you say, in the next 10 minutes, all I'm going to do is silently wishing everybody well. Every house I'm going to cross, even if I don't see people, I will assume there is 4 or 5 people, and I will silently wish them well. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to plan or problem solve. It'll keep you in the moment. Slowly, your mind wandering will stop. And if you're trying to sleep at night and too much mind wandering is happening, then try to bore yourself, because mind has to get bored to sleep. So a simple way to bore yourself is to imagine you're driving from home to your college and try to remember every landmark you saw and experienced. And slowly, or what you can do is read a very complex story, but not very emotional story. So I have a story in my head that goes everywhere. So I try to start with the beginning of the story, and it has not happened so far where I have lasted for more than 2 minutes. By the time I am into the first or second page, I'm gone.
Rachel, have you asked your question?
No, I have not.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so in both of the videos, you walked us through like that gratitude exercise in the morning, like before you even like get out of bed. Is there any benefit to doing stuff like before you go to bed also? Because I know like that's the best way to like retain information. So is that like the same for like emotions and stuff like that too?
Yeah, absolutely. You can do that. Generally, my suggestion before sleeping at night is to not experience too many emotional moments, because that can interfere with your sleep. So you can write a gratitude journal or think about other aspects of life for which you are grateful, not just people. The morning practice is specifically for people because you're going to start your day, you'll meet with people, oftentimes include people you're going to meet in your morning gratitude practice. You can also have compassion practice, a very common practice at night. For me, before sleeping is I think about all the parents who are rushing their child to the ER right now who is throwing up, and I send my compassion to those parents. And it is very difficult to think about your own life's imperfections when you are thinking about all those parents who are taking their child to the ER at this moment, right? So you exit your own ordinary preferences, your own ordinary disappointments, and you come to a place of a prayerful mode of quiet with that kind of practice. Certainly you can bore yourself. You can there's a particular breath which we call the star breathing, where you make an imaginary star in your head as you inhale and exhale. And I have a 90-second clip of it at the Happy Genius website. And we take kids through that 5.5-minute version, and they're able to practice it, including 6-year-olds. So those are, you can definitely practice that with the gratitude exercise in the evening. I like to fill my car with gas before the trip, so I like to do it first thing in the morning.
Josie, I think you had a question. Do you hear me, Josie? Maybe not right now. Who else has questions?
I had a question.
Sure.
So I was wondering, you mentioned resilience earlier. And so how can we benefit from a resilient mindset?
Sure. How can you benefit from a resilient mindset? So instead of defining resilience, which you can find on Google or anywhere, your ability to withstand adversity, bounce back, and grow despite life's downturns, I might share 1 or 2 short stories. So like one of my friend's mom, when she was 73, she developed tremors, Parkinsonian tremors. And so she called her daughter and she said, you know, that electronic toothbrush you were wanting to buy for me, you don't have to buy anymore because now my regular toothbrush has become an electronic toothbrush. So she had tremendous sense of humor and a way to reframe. That was just amazing. And then she developed stroke. And then she called her daughter and said that, you know, we were talking to that neurosurgeon to fix my tremor, saved some money there because my hand is now limp. We don't need that neurosurgery consult. So this person is trying to reframe whatever comes to her in a way that is adaptive. She's not denying reality. Resilience doesn't deny reality, but it doesn't take you to that deep, dark place where there's no hope left. It's a complex construct. We could spend many, many hours talking about it, but I just want to share with you examples of, you know, resilient stories. My then 4-year-old was, now I don't have it, she was working with she had made a starfish. And see, the starfish has, what, 5 limbs? And she, when I picked her up and was coming home, the starfish broke. So of the 5 limbs, only the top 3 limbs left. So I thought, oh, she's going to cry. And she said, oh, no, Daddy, this was a starfish, and now it has become a sailboat. So to me, that was reframing. Another resilient mindset. So this little girl we met at our daughter's elementary school, happiest kid in the school. So I asked her, what makes you so happy? And she said, I'm so happy because the grass is green, and I'm so happy because the swing sets work, and I'm so happy because the sky is so blue. So she had come from a poorer country. She had never seen blue sky because of the smog. so she could appreciate the little in life, right? And another child who when she gave candy to one of her friends and the friend threw it, 2-3 times this happened. So we called because we thought this child might be feeling poorly or low self-worth. She said, what happened? Her explanatory style was not that she's bad. She said, oh, I guess she didn't like the candy. It was just not about me. It was the candy. You go to school, children with disability are the most positive. They never talk about my hand doesn't move. They try to make the most with what they have. So what resilient mindset does is it prevents you from an adversity becoming an attention sump. You do not go into a deep, dark place. If you go to a darker place, you recover quickly, and you, because of the new perspective, you rise higher. When you experience adversity, you become compassionate towards those who are experiencing adversity. So that's what resilient mindset does to you. It's an absolutely beautiful way to live, because we don't have control over much of what will happen to us. I mean, Claire, did you pick your parents? Like, did you say, I want these to be my parents? Or did you pick your siblings or your country of birth? We don't get to pick any of that. So most of the important things in our life just happen to us. And that's why we need a resilient mindset. There is a very nice quote I remember. This is not mine. Someone said, universe is made of stories, not atoms. So in whatever you're doing, get into the habit of picking stories from your life and others' lives, and also pick metaphors, like snow is the water that we'll get to drink in the summer. Or, the other day this is winters, I was seeing snow shovel from the driveway. And I thought many of my life's problems are like that. When you're shoveling snow away from the driveway, you're not melting the snow, you're just shoveling it away. So you're pushing it aside. And so that's what sometimes we have to do. I can't shoo away COVID-19 or many other things happening to me. I can just push it aside so that I can clear the highway of my mind. So as a student of psychology, you try to come up with your own stories, your own metaphors that you can share with others, because complex definitions, protocols, your patients don't read those books, but you just never know what story or metaphor will touch their heart and completely transform their life, right?
How about those of you on Facebook? Any questions you want to submit into the comment section? And while we're waiting for them, I think, is there anyone else in the class? Jamie, you had a question, didn't you?
Yeah. So in your webinar with Dr. Goody earlier this year, you stated, without compassion, life will stop existing as we know it. And I thought that was so profound and such a lovely quote. And I just wanted to know how you would relate that to the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah. Compassion is our basic driving force that keeps the planet alive and humming, because our babies, our infants depend on us collaborating with each other, being kind to each other, being kind to the babies. So you can live life without gratitude, but without compassion, we will disappear from the planet. Now, when it comes to race, it is a real social construct. It is not a genetic or medical construct. So our instinct to see others as different from us and create biases is a largely social phenomenon, social and political, I would say. This movement and other similar movements call for us to examine our humanity and ask ourselves who we are as a species, who we are as a spiritual beings. are we going to divide ourselves based on some how melanin is distributed across our skin, or are we going to focus on the 99.9% of what is similar amongst us? Several research studies have shown that when I see you as different from me, then I will judge you. I will not be sensitive to your pain. For example, in a study in Australia, when fresh immigrants there were shown picture of Australians having a painful procedure, their pain network did not fire, the immigrants one. After 5 years, when they could relate with them, their pain network started firing. So when I see you as different gender, different color of skin, different hair, then I see you as different. But when I see you, okay, you are a fellow human. You care about your loved ones. You care about your friends. You care about children. We have similar. If you and I sat down, Jamie, we will find about 100,000 things that are common between the two of us. And so when we focus on those 100,000 things common, then these definitions, these things that define us as different, they tend to melt away. And the more commonality we find amongst each other, the more compassion we have for each other. That's what research shows, that if I can find, so how many siblings are you?
I have one younger brother.
Yeah, so I have also a older brother. And do you love dogs?
I do. I have two of them.
Okay, we're just going to have a dog very quickly. So we also love dogs. So right away we have found two similarities, and I could go on, and in the next 2 minutes we will find 10 similarities, which will, from being another person on the screen for both of us, we could feel connected to each other. So so what happens is, interestingly, when you go beyond the superficial descriptors and see the other person as a dad, as a mom, as a caring grandfather, then those constructs with which we define people to separate us melt away. So we should create constructs that bring us together. And that is when we will all be together, and we will recognize that you've got 88 keys on a piano. And the reason every key sounds different is because that's how you can create a performance. If every key was sounding identical, then you won't be able to create a good performance. If every instrument in orchestra was identical, there would be no orchestra, right? So nature has made us, given us different qualities, different strengths to create this beautiful variety. So we should appreciate, honor, welcome that. And that needs wisdom, that needs patience. We are a work in progress, and there will be a time when we will have all of that.
Great. I don't see anything yet from Facebook unless I'm not looking in the right place, although we have a bunch of people joining us on Facebook, a lot of them, but I don't see any questions yet. Anyone else from the class who has questions? If not, I'd like to open it up to some of our guests here on Zoom who aren't in the class.
I have a quick question.
Sure. Emily?
What would be your best advice for someone that is looking to gain more self-worth in life and more optimism in their life?
Yeah. So self-worth and optimism, if I had to say something very, very simple, one of the best ways to enhance self-worth, your own self-worth, is to enhance someone else's self-worth. On days when you feel you are kinder, it can start with silently wishing others well. It can be doing something tangible, a random act of kindness, or a directed or a not so random act of kindness. Those are the days when your self-worth will be at its best. If self-worth is related to physical aspects of life, then remember that there was this very interesting study where people, when they drove their own picture, when they describe their own face versus a friend describing the face, the friend's description was actually led to a 20% better looking face. So you're all 20% better looking than you think you are. You know, I always thought as a teenager that all I had on my face was one big nose, very self-conscious. And we all, when we look at our reflection, we find we are wonderful at finding imperfections, particularly if you go and stay in those hotels that show your blown up face on the mirror, and then you find all the holes and spots that you didn't know existed, right? I don't look at myself in those mirrors. So coming back, so self-worth, I think the simplest way is to get in the business of enhancing someone else's self-worth, particularly someone who you feel is struggling with it. When it comes to optimism, there's a lot of very interesting research. Hope or optimism, similar constructs. It is expectation of a better tomorrow. So think about, I have a small meditation here on this actually. Think about you being a newborn. How capable you were. You were not able to walk. You were not able to speak. You were not able to see, but things worked out. Things worked out, and that's how you're here, right? So if things worked out then, things will work out now. So keep that faith, right? When you had no control, you have much more control now. So when you, and what I'm hinting at is when you think about your past and think about everything that has gone right, it gives you hope. When you think about who all care about you, it gives you hope. When you think about all the patients, all the colleagues, all the clients you will be helping in the future, you get hope. When you think about faith, sometimes even believing in a little bit of magic that, you know, if you, let's say, pray for 5 minutes in the morning, it'll improve X, Y, Z. So why many times sports folks, you know, they will touch the ground or something because they believe in magic. It gives them hope. It gives them courage. When you take care of yourself, when you start exercising, eat healthy, when your physical health improves, your hope increases. So I have a little app, it's called Mood Candy, where I have a full hope module. And you can just look at that module and then delete the app. It's a very simple one. And I've tried to synthesize all the hope research in that. And if you want, just email me. I can email you a chapter I had written on hope. And that has a bunch of what I'm sharing with you. So that's how you can increase. Hope is so important because a lot of people you will see with sadness and people who make extreme, and it's so sad. Every single day we have several teenagers who take their life because they have no hope left. So hope is very, very important.
Thank you so much.
Gary, you are.
There we go. Sorry. We're nearing the end here. Anyone from the class who would like to ask a question? I don't see anything on Facebook yet, but we have a bunch of people joining in that way. Any of our guests who are not in the class? Tina, John, Stephanie, I see Chuck Peters was here, but I don't think is here right now.
Well, first of all, I have to say this has been, I'm Tina, and in Southwest Iowa, and what you've had to say all night has been super fascinating. And I guess a big question I have is, what would you impart upon a parent to help raise in a gentle fashion a very grateful, compassionate, resilient young person? Do you have some strategies that you think would be helpful, especially the resilience and reframing piece?
Yeah, I think the age-old wisdom that, be careful that they are watching even more than they are listening. So you embody resilience yourself. That's very important, number one. Number two, you're saying I love you doesn't count a whole lot anymore. What they really like to hear is I respect you, And so you take their opinions, act on their opinions, give them feedback, help them feel they matter. And that's not what they get in the world a whole lot, which is respect for their opinions right away. So for example, when we were building a house, our basement carpet was designed by our daughters, and we had a competition, and theirs was the best design. It's a very simple example. So help them appreciate that you respect them beyond just loving them. Loving is important, but respect is very important. Praise them in the domains you want them to grow. If you want them to become kinder, then first of all, embody kindness. If you have a beetle in your house, then carefully catch the beetle and escort the beetle out of the house while talking to the beetle gently for a happy life. And I know that's what we sometimes do. It sounds crazy, but that's what we do. A very non-violent way of living. We don't kill any bugs, spiders exceptions. Sorry about that. So and if they embody that behavior, then praise their kindness, because whatever you praise is the trait in which they will grow. Share with them stories, the legacy of your family. I, for one, believe that the more they feel there is a lot, because kids are very vulnerable in these times. They're vulnerable to negative influences on social media, etc. I mean, yesterday night I was reading about trafficking and how bad it can be sometimes. And these are the vulnerable kids who are emotionally not anchored and so on. So the more they can value themselves, that they are good kids, a negative thought is unbecoming of them. A negative action is unbecoming of them. There's a lot to lose if they make wrong choices in life, the better. Of course, the traditional, I did not cover the traditional, helping them have a sense of meaning and purpose, embodying gratitude, embodying compassion, being willing to be forgiving, and embodying forgiveness. I think it's also helpful for you to use a language, two final ideas, use a language that is the kindest possible. So language, as you know, is a living being. So for example, if you don't like something, instead of saying, oh, I hate it, you can say, I'm trying to like it. So they have a language in which they communicate, which is kind. And a whole brain listening. When they are speaking, drop everything and listen to them. Turn the flap of your computer. Whole brain listening is when you listen with your auditory cortex, which is your listening area of the brain, but also with your visual cortex. When you're seeing what they are saying, you listen with your parietal cortex, where you have, you are integrating the information, and you listen with your frontal cortex, particularly medial frontal cortex, where you have empathy. You are giving empathy as they are speaking. I covered a lot of different things, but those are some things that come to me right off the top of my mind.
Thank you so much for imparting great insights.
Okay, I think out of respect for your time, Amit, we should stop here, although this has been terrific. I didn't know until this afternoon what the questions from the class were going to be. I didn't know how you were going to respond to all of them, that's for sure, where this was going to go, but this has been terrific. This has really been great. So.
Thank you, everyone.
I know that's unanimous, right?
Thank you, Emily. I'm grateful to you for asking about hope. Looking at all you gives me hope, fills me with hope. So thank you for giving me hope this evening.
And you guys can feel free to unmute yourselves. Oh, great questions. Okay, feel free to, everyone in the class, feel free to, or who's with us, feel free to unmute yourself. Go ahead. Do it. It's all right.
Thank you.
It's all right. Okay. There we
Thank
go.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Music.
I will. I'll share with the class your website for resilient option. Amit,
Sure.
I'll share that with them, and then some of the other things you mentioned. The chapter on Is It Hope?
Yeah, I'm happy to send it to you. And maybe, Gary, if you want, I can send you a couple of resources and you can
Sure.
share with everybody, whatever you
Sure,
feel.
that'd be great. And those who I think Cheyenne had the question about working with kids, wants to be a school counselor. And you had mentioned a program that you're involved with that some of them might have an interest in learning more about, or potentially in their own way getting involved with. I can share that also.
Absolutely. It's called Happy Genius, HAPPI Genius program. And the other one, so it's for elementary school students. It's a 12-week program in what we call BFF, Breathing, Focusing, Feeling. And we also have a new app, which is called Zizo, Zoom In, Zoom Out.
Right.
I don't think I shared that. I don't know if I shared with you, Gary. So Zizo is a in the room resilience, your personal resilience pal, where we have tried to curate a lot of resilience research and my experience and put it into, two-line quotes that synthesize research. So you might enjoy Zizo. It's all free. It's all available to you for no cost.
And I'll share that with everyone as a package here over the next few days. I'll get everything assembled and make that available through e-learning. Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Have a lovely dinner. Enjoy your dinner.
Okay. All right. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.